IDA, but I don't really care.
There it is.
I think I got it. Right.
That's
Do we have
all
any
we
guests?
see.
We have, no, just our esteemed colleagues.
Colleagues.
Jim is not coming? You don't know, okay.
Maybe he's over trying to win a car.
Maybe.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It is a few minutes after 8. Sorry for the late start here. Got a lot going on Warren Street today. Okay, so we're going to open up first the Glens Falls Industrial Development Agency. We have 3 meetings today. The Greater Glens Falls Local Development Corporation will follow, and then the Glens Falls Urban Renewal Agency. And I'll start with the IDA. May 9th, this is our monthly regular board meeting, and thank you all for coming. We have a quorum. We are missing a few members. The record report that in attendance was myself, Judy Calagero, Mary Gooden, Tim Larson, and Jane Reed. And our other members are missing, but we will fill them in later. And or maybe they're watching online. Our yeah. Our key advisors, consultants, and staff are here. We have no guests, but maybe online, so welcome all today. We have a number of reports, approvals, resolutions to do related to the annual meeting. And so I am going to skip any kind of chair or CEO report until we talk about projects, if that's okay with you, Jeff.
That's fine.
Okay. So as you know, our annual meeting is quite busy, and we have a number of different committee meetings that met, as well as some special meeting that was held in April. And so I'm going to do, I think, let me do the meeting minutes all at once. So first there was the committee meetings that were held on March 28th, 2024. And there were 3 of them. You all have the minutes for those. The annual meeting was held also following that also on March 28th. And then we had our regular monthly meeting also all held on March 28th. And then on April 18th, following that, we had a special board meeting. All minutes are here. All will be posted to our website as soon as they're approved. And I believe actually they're already online related to this meeting today. Are there any questions or changes, edits to those meeting minutes that anyone has?
None here.
None here? There being none, is there a motion to approve all of those meeting minutes that I referenced?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, the annual meeting, committee meeting, regular meeting, and special meeting minutes are approved. We have a financial report for the 4 months of the year 2024. Mark Toomey, would you give us a brief summary? Thank you.
In March, all we had was just that 40% of my pay for $500. April, we had the CEO first quarter wage, 3 Fitzgerald legal bills, $656, and then again my payroll for $705, and then minimal audit entries. I think there may be 2 or 3 that Jean Latin wanted, even though it was minimal, she wanted IDA to have two IDA from Urban and from CDC for like my expense and the CEO expense, which total about $400, not even. And that is it.
And what was the Whittemore bill? Is that related to the audit?
Whittemore was the 1099s that they did.
Yeah, that's the issuance of
1099s?
1099s.
Okay.
Right, which we're talking about bringing in-house next year. Mark seems to think that he can do them for all the agencies.
Do the 1099.
It just became a,
It was a carryover.
it became a, right, yes, well, what did we do last year, and let's do it
Yep.
this year, right?
Very good. Okay. Any questions for Mark or for Jeff on the bills or the financial report for April 30, 2024? There being none, let's do this separately. First, let's pass the financial report. Is there a motion to accept the financial report as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? There being none, financial report is passed and we'll get that posted. And then the schedule of A, the bill, payment of bills as reported. Is there a motion to approve the payment of those bills?
Some, yeah.
So moved.
Tim did,
Tim?
and I'll second.
In second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, that is approved, and we will get those bills paid, maybe even today. We'll see.
It looks possible.
Any other administrative reports, Jeff?
Not administrative reports, the project
Okay.
report though.
It's very good. So let's go to project reports, and I'll turn it over to Jeff. It has been a busy couple of days on Spring City development.
Yes,
As
it's
I
actually been
know.
a busy couple of weeks. It's actually been a busy couple of months. It's actually been a busy couple of years. No, but you're right, particularly in the last few days. There's been a sort of a flurry of activity. As you know, we're sort of in the, I guess, the final stretches of getting the project underway for Bonaccio. As you all know, I believe they got their HCR tax credits and have been trying to move forward on phase one. Getting their financing in place with the bank, their tax credit, investing, which is also Glens Falls National. The IDA's big input, of course, is the tax benefits that we've offered them that need to be revised. We have been discussing modifications to the package, which generally center around just the procedural differences. Their budget has gone up, their construction budget has gone up, which is not terribly surprising, which of course impacts the sales tax rebate that they'll need to apply for in the revised application. I would guess that also in fact impacts the mortgage tax. I think that's also based on the size of your mortgage.
Of course.
And the most important one, of course, as far as value, is the pilot. They have submitted tentatively at least a proposal for a revised pilot. Really, the only difference that I can see, and correct me if I'm wrong, I know you've looked at it too, Judy, is that they're accounting for the removal of 49 South. When we originally gave them the pilot or issued the pilot in the original application, it included all four properties as one pilot, right? So 41 South Sandy's, 45 South Hot Shots, 36 Elm the Incubator, and 49 South, which is the Juice and Jar lot, which originally they were going to purchase. Because the city has decided to keep that fourth parcel and use that for the sort of the pocket park that Department of State is funding through the DRI, we have to take that obviously out of the value. So it's not a large piece, of course. It's about, I think, 5 or 6% of the value of the transaction, and there's also of the pilot itself. So we're looking at just revising that down. I'm hoping to get an application from this. If not this week, certainly as soon as possible next week. And if I'm not mistaken, and Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we need to have a public hearing to approve, or before we can approve this. Is that?
So you already had a public hearing and you approved it. It's up to you procedurally if you wish to have another public hearing based on the changes to the numbers. The public hearing is triggered when it's $100,000 or more in incentives. Since they are being modified, it was some time had passed since you approved it the last time. You may want to consider doing that, just so it's all.
Question.
Yeah.
The parking lot, the area that has since been acquired by Spring City or whichever, Bonaccio, whatever.
Pavilion lot.
And the area where this housing development's going to be on were not part of our original, they couldn't have been, obviously.
Correct.
So are they now being included in the pilot?
No.
No.
No,
Thank
you're
you.
talking
Okay,
pavilion
then-
lot.
Well,
Yeah, pavilion and, yeah.
There is a pilot for the pavilion lot, but that was issued by the city council, which is required because of the length of the pilot, if no other reason.
and also it's being controlled by a housing development fund company. There's tax credits in that transaction.
But I'm just saying, our number isn't affected by those lots, right? So
Well-
all our number is shrinking,
Well-
not growing.
Well, it's,
Well-
in total, yeah, that's right.
Right.
Because it's shrinking because of
Okay. Then I
the,
don't really know that we
Well,
have to have another public
until-
hearing.
So
We don't.
So one of the things that's missing, they've started to submit their updated application to the IDA. One of the items that's missing is their development budget and
their
operating.
sources
Right.
and uses.
And including the sources and uses. And we have $2 million in DRI funds, the city does, or the LDC does, that is going into that project. And then there is no other government funding in that project that I'm aware of until we see that sources and uses. And then, so their construction costs have gone up. The material costs have gone up at least 300,000. And so that is gonna impact the sales tax exemption. But I'm not certain that it's gonna impact our pilot at all.
I was just merely referring to the pilot. We've already
Okay.
approved a number that is technically larger than the number that they're gonna come
Well-
back with
Correct.
because we're taking a lot out.
So
So-
once Jeff gets that development and operating budgets from them, and we can confirm that, I think then we could make that final
Right.
decision that public hearing is not needed, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say we're certainly not gonna be over this threshold. So it's just a
Right.
question of, and my guess is the net benefits may be reduced simply by dint of.
Would have to be,
of the-
I would think. Of the
Unless somehow-
pilot, not of the.
Well, unless somehow the
obviously.
sales tax was going to overwhelm, the increased value of the sales tax was gonna overwhelm the reduced value of the pilot, which I
So,
don't see.
But the pilot in and of itself is the only thing that generates the requirement for a public hearing,
Oh.
not
Not the-
the exemptions from the tax
Yes,
Yeah, I thought it was the entire benefit.
yes, the entire,
benefit package.
Right, so if the mortgage tax, sales tax, and pilot change in values are over $100,000, then, but I don't think we're gonna be there. Because one of them's going down and one of them's going up. And unless somehow the one going up, well, it can't overwhelm it because it's only, I think, $30,000.
Right.
well, it's gonna be, like, I think once we review the pilot and look at it, because the pilot itself is the schedule that they've provided is a set tax payment for each year. So we would have to go through and anticipate what those taxes would otherwise be based on an assessed value, which we did the last time, and then look at that. Because if they're pulling out a property, that tax payment itself is going to be reduced, which is my
Right.
understanding. But if the total cost of the project is going up, it could be a wash, like you.
Yeah, and I've gone through the calculations, and if you look at it's very close. I mean, I think the first, the what do you want to call it, the zero increase number goes from 19,776 down to 19,432 or something. So we're talking about hundreds of dollars for the first 8 years, and then it goes up incrementally from there, but it's still a reduction. So it's, as I said, it's almost tracks exactly the value, what we were looking at, the assessed, I'm not sure if it was assessed or appraised, whatever one we were using for the pocket park for 49 South, right? As a percentage of the total value of the
Right.
project and a percentage of the pilot. They're using the same, whatever number we're using that we provided for them, right? The number that they're using is the calculation that we gave them, not that they originally came up with.
Yes. So, just to clarify too, so they submitted a draft updated application. Jeff, Kara, and I have reviewed it, and we had comments and questions that went back to them. Jeff met with them yesterday. We were hopeful that we would have that back today, including that development and operating budget, and we don't. And so we were hoping to be able to make a final decision today, but we're not able
We're gonna
to.
have a special meeting.
So we may have a special meeting.
And
at
maybe
7.
there will be, you know, croissants or something.
We can
Write
do that.
that down.
Right.
But, you know, everybody here is kind of on top of this, and everyone, and the reason really, I think, for the special meeting is that there's a strong desire by the city in particular to have the construction on this project start by July. And in order to do that, I think that we may have to meet within the next couple of weeks to approve this. And that really relates to the DRI and keeping that DRI money moving.
Yeah.
The other complexity of this is that the 41 South is the former Sandy's location, is closer to the Phase 2 project, which is new construction. And so it's really the other two properties, 45 South and 36 Elm, that are on the other side of Elm Street and closer to where the market center is, that are more important for us, the city, I think, to have under construction soon, so that the rehabilitation of those buildings is done concurrently with the completion of the market center. And so that's also our desire, and we've shared that with them as well. And so if they were to somehow put off some of the work on former Sandy's until later in that process, I think that that we as a board and the mayor would be okay with that, as long as we fully understood that they were doing so in order to coordinate that work with the new construction of Phase 2. Does that make sense?
Right, I think that fundamental to the LDC is the transfer of ownership and responsibility of those two buildings, step one.
Yes.
And once
Agreed.
that has happened,
Agreed.
I believe we can feel that progress has been
Right.
made.
Well, and to be honest with you, although we probably could have squeezed in this in time, we were gonna have to meet again because of the LDC PDA anyway. So it didn't make sense to ramrod this since we have the same.
Since we're gonna have to do the same thing.
Right, the same,
Yeah,
we're gonna have to do the
see.
same thing anyway.
Exactly.
There's no great.
So, yeah.
Okay, so that is that, and I wanted to get all of that. Anything new on Market Center?
No, a couple of other things that are going on. I mean, I know you, for other business anyway, but there's Jim Vetch and I are meeting with, I believe you folks know that we're applying for a Restore New York grant for Foothills Builders for the Warren Street property down here. For the new building they're looking at, I believe it's 60 units.
I think it is. Yep, that sounds right.
And we're meeting with Empire State Development. I mentioned this to this board because there's a very good likelihood that they will be looking for IDA support as well.
Wasn't that just approved by the planning board yesterday, or Wednesday, or yesterday?
Which
Or
was
Wednesday,
Wednesday?
or Tuesday, or whenever that was? What day is today?
Right.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
It's one of those days, yes.
This week.
Yeah, sorry.
So at any rate, my suspicion is in fairly short order, they will be approaching the IDA for some tax support, which we've already discussed in broad terms.
Right.
Okay. All right. No, since there's no other business to come before us, there's no need for an executive session. Unless there's any questions by the members, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Well done.
Thank you. Make sure I have everything here. Lots of minutes, yes. Okay, so, as you know, our mayor was not able to join us today, and so, on his behalf and as secretary of the Greater Glens Falls Local Development Corporation, I'm gonna open that meeting and call to order. We have a quorum, same as the IDA, members present, members missing, staff here, thank you all. I'll take care of the administrative reports first. The, again, and for the minutes, we have a number of minutes to approve from our annual meeting, as well as held in March, as well as one special meeting. And so I'm going to do those all at once. So we had, on March 28th, we had committee meetings. Minutes are all there for you for the 3 different committee meetings that were held. Our annual meeting on that same date, and then there was a regular board meeting that followed. And then we had a special board meeting on April 18th. All minutes are attached. Any questions or comments by anyone? There being none, is there a motion to approve those, all of those minutes as I described?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? There being none, I,
Aren't enough of us that meeting.
yeah. I think we're approved. Thank you. We'll get those posted to the permanent part of our website. They are there today, I think, as part of this meeting.
They are.
The financial report for 4 months ending April 30th, 2024. Mark Toomey is here with us today. Mark, can you give us a brief summary of that for LDC?
March, all we had was the typical March installment for insurance, and then 9 monthly pay at 60%. And then April, we had Bonadale's payment, partial audit, $8,000, Fitzgerald, $320, CDO first quarter, $1,562, insurance deposit for the year, $4,900, and plus the, I think I paid 1 month of insurance, which we just got a check back for like $1,250, so I gotta bank that, so that's a wash. So basically, the $4,929 should be roughly $3,700. So I got a check back from the insurance company.
Why did we get a check back?
I went ahead and made I think it was the March installment, which was already part of the total package for this coming year.
Oh, okay.
And then my payroll for February is part of that LDC April as well. And that's it.
Very good. Any comments, questions, or proposed changes? So we'll do 2 different approvals here. First, let's do the financial report for 4 months ending April 30th. Is there a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, the financial report is presented as approved. Secondly, we are doing a transfer of money of $10,000 from the incubator account to our general operating fund. Is there a motion to approve that transfer of money?
Is it 10 or 13?
13, right?
It's 10.
10.
It's 10.
Oh, it's
The
10.
original one, the original agenda said 13.
Says 13.
And then Mark and I did a few more calculations and realized what we wanted to do was 10.
Okay.
So transfer of money, $10,000 from incubator account to operating.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, the motion is approved and we'll get that transferred. Is that going to require signature, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get that signed. And then payment of bills as reported on Schedule A. Any changes or questions on that? There being none, is there a motion to approve the payment of bills as presented on Schedule A?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? There being none, payment of bills will also be made and we'll get that signed as well as the transfer. Any other administrative reports?
Not at the moment, no?
Okay, Patrick. So then in terms of project reports, I'm going to turn it over to Patrick to give those updates.
Right, so we really, aside from the Market Center and updates that Jeff will do, the last one, the first one is actually the last movement of DRI grant money from the nonprofits, facades, GF Drive $600,000 grant. We're providing through 50-50 spending, so the agency or the nonprofit will spend 50%. They're actually spending more than 50%, and then we'll cover 50% of the program. The Wood Theater is doing a $210,000 HVAC upgrade for their facility, which is badly needed. I guess the equipment is 15 years old or 18 years old. It's a $210,000.
That's all?
That doesn't seem possible to me, and you're saying that's all. Interesting, yeah.
They're going to a more energy efficient system. It's a $210,000 project. We're going to use DRI money to support $100,000 of that project.
Nice.
The second one is the Park Theater, which is updating their internet capabilities, so it has everything to do with both presentations that they're doing and outreach, marketing outreach, and ticket sales and internal connectivity. And that project's 26.8 or something like that, and we're providing them roughly 11. There's 110,000 and then some other numbers that are left in the grant. So 100,000 is going to the Wood Theater, and then the $11,783.14
Yeah.
is going to go to help support the park.
Good.
Right. And so the resolution in front of the board today is getting formal approval on giving that grant money out, that DRI grant money out to those two nonprofits in the city.
So I've got a comment about this, and I was taking a look at this yesterday. We all know these organizations, we live in this community.
Sure.
And I don't have an issue with that. However, there was recently an issue of a project in another community in Albany County that's where a thorough review of the nonprofit background was not done. And I'm gonna I don't know what your application process is and what you've asked for, but I'm gonna recommend that you have their most current 990 reports
Yeah.
from the IRS in your records.
Will do.
And so if they haven't
Yeah.
submitted those yet, I would get them.
I
And if you can't get them,
recall that that's probably part of the
Okay.
application process, but I'll make sure we have them.
make sure we have their
Yep.
current 990s.
Yep.
Because that lists all of their board members and
Correct.
it's, as well as financial information.
Sure.
990s have other information.
Right.
That is what that group
Yep.
in Albany
It's a
County
good thought,
was
yep,
missing.
we'll make sure that we get them.
And then if we're ever reviewed, we've
Sure,
got it.
absolutely.
All right, so that was fine.
Nothing quite like a monitoring.
I was kind of following this Albany County thing because it's been kind of interesting. But anyways,
So as I said, that if there's no questions, any more questions, excuse me, Judy, I
Yep.
didn't mean that. If there's no
No.
more questions, the resolution is in front of you. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion to approve as presented with the,
With the 990s.
with the one exception that make sure, certain that the 990.
Absolutely.
Most recent 990 reports are in the file.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so the motion carries. Let me just make sure that I get that down and recorded. Okay, so the second piece, I'm going to turn over to my learned colleague.
Yeah, well, yeah.
For Market Center, Market Square.
Well, to finish up on that, just on another related note, just so you're aware, those two, the funding that's left there is really funding that was sort of reallocated. These are from the GF Drive, right, business development, nonprofit, and facade programs, the 600,000 DRI money. These were funds that were reallocated from projects that never came to fruition.
And all the money's coming from DHCR and they know that we're,
Correct.
Oh, sure, yeah,
Correct.
we've got their approval already.
Right, and our plan is, and I think it's going to happen now, is that, we were talking about this is the last of the money, which is why the Wood Theater, or the Park Theater, is getting whatever's left, which still won't be 50% of their project. So that funding is completed. Having said that, one issue we have to take up is I've asked Kara to draft a letter to Flight, to the owners of Flight, because we need to reconcile both the GF Drive money that was given to them in two tranches, one of $40,000 and one of $20,000 for the equipment in their building. That's, the buildings, the business has been closed for about 3 months, maybe around the beginning of the year. So we not only need to address the remaining forgivable loan balance that's on those 2 tranches, one of which I think is 2 years, one of which is 3 years. And then we also need to address the USDA loan that was given supplement to that for a walk-in cooler they have in the basement. I've been in contact with both the I guess we'll call him former operator and with the landlord about trying to find some solution there. But I think we need to sort of move this process forward.
I
Right, we
totally
had that-
agree.
Yeah, we had that, Jeff and I had that conversation.
And they haven't paid the USDA loan in 6 months, according
Yeah,
to,
I believe that's
Is that right, Mark? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Should I continue to bill them monthly, or?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we were directed to do that for Samantha's by USDA.
And I would
Yeah,
ask you
continue.
again, you've had eyes on? Because I've heard other things. I've heard other things from very reliable sources as to where that equipment
Okay.
may be residing.
So maybe we need
So-
to,
Just,
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
I thought it was still in the base, I thought we.
Well,
the chiller. I
Well,
believe-
yeah, the coolers, I'm sure, and I have been in the building, not terribly recently, but not too long ago. So, I mean,
Just saying.
Yeah.
Then I
A
think
little
I
walk.
heard that too, that it was,
You might have.
I did hear that.
I know you.
You didn't tell each other, did you?
No, Tom, you asked Tommy.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, at any rate, I have been,
That's what I heard.
okay, well, this maybe sort of obviates the need for, or, no,
Get it out.
mandates the need.
Mandates the need,
for
yeah,
doing
absolutely.
something, not mandates it at all.
Yeah, I think so.
At any rate, we're gonna pursue that and make
Yeah.
sure that at least we're, working with both all the parties to make sure that this body is made whole to the extent possible.
now market.
Now the market center. So as I mentioned during the IDA meeting, we're looking at, on the IDA side, of course, the tax benefits. For the LDC, of course, it's the project development agreement. This, as you can imagine, even through the renegotiations, as we've gotten a little bit more down into the weeds, the challenge of this particular agreement is that it includes, the interests of the IDA, the interests of the LDC, the interests of the city, the interests of the developer. And so I've been required, by necessity, to make sure that all parties have their fair representation of what they expect. And as we've sort of worked through the initial processes and extensions, we've started to run into, of course, the Market Center project has commenced, and so there have been a few developments, I don't want to say complications, but when we're running into things like utility issues that now we see are going to be pertinent to the at least the 2 buildings that the LDC owns, that has sort of forced us to get a little bit more clarification about who's doing what for the utilities to their buildings, what our expectations are regarding the Market Square, which now, presumably the LDC will be leasing, in partnership with the city. So we just have to make sure that we have all these considerations accounted for. And of course, it seems like this is a unique, I'm not sure it's entirely unique, but to the extent that we have all these bodies involved in this one project that involves directly and indirectly 5 different parcels of land with different owners, etc. So, having said that, I believe that we are pretty close. I sent you late yesterday some final changes, and these emerged on the heels of conversations with Bonaccio and with AJA, who's working with us as our owner's rep. The real sticking points were trying to take care of things like the streetscaping. The streetscaping issue has been a point of confusion for a while, partly because without going too far into the details, you'll remember that when we began this, we had a city engineer who was working, with the working group. There was a transition when he retired. The budget went over. Their project, the developer's project, was delayed. A piece of that, meaning the piece between Elm Street and technically Pine, although I don't think it goes back that far, right, really can't be done now, right, as they're doing the rest of the streetscaping. So that was sort of put on hold. There became an assumption that that was the developer's project, but it never was.
Right.
It was never in their scope
That's
of
right.
work. But we have some complications because the streetscaping project, which is over budget, is going to be finished before that piece of work is done. So we have to account for how that's going to be done, when it's going to be done, and who's going to cover what. We are also now, as you folks know, we're getting down further into the details of the market square, the incubator space, how that's going to be used, what it's going to be doing. What the term developers use is we're going to provide you with a white box, right? You know, the white box that you use however you want.
Yeah.
The question then becomes, there is building infrastructure, right, that has to be determined, and you say, well, to what extent does the developer provide these to the tenant who then fits it up, and to what extent does the tenant provide these things? So they're fairly standard, but as I'm learning, these are all typically negotiable, right? And so we're now trying to make sure, since we have a pretty good idea of what we're going to end up with, what kind of access we're going to get. Really the numbers aren't changing much, other than there's a few, I guess we'd call them inflationary adjustments, and because the original agreement was 2 years ago, along with like things like access to the basement, things like that the mayor's concerned about, justifiably, because if we're going to be using that space very flexibly. And then the third one, which has really been complex, has been the utility issue, because as I'm learning, the engineers, the architects, and certainly the contractors make plans for how they're going to deal with utility issues, and then they discovered that the circumstances are different. One quick example, which is unrelated to our agreement, but the city was originally going to put our storm and sewer out to the street, to South Street. It turns out there is a obstruction.
We mapped that. We spent a lot of time and money mapping that. You're finding something that we didn't know about?
Yes. Well, there's a duct bank that apparently either no one knew about or didn't know where it was relative to the sewer line. And so it's essentially without going into too much detail, it's a bank about this wide, I saw it, and about this deep. And so the sewer coming out, the pipes coming out from the market center can't go underneath it because they can't go back up to connect.
Right.
But it's too high to the surface, it's too close to the street surface to go over it. So we now have to do all the stormwater retention on site, which requires some changes there.
How did we?
That's just one example. The bigger one for our
Who the
purposes.
bank is?
What's that?
Is telecommunications?
No, this is a national grid.
National Grid.
And we were hoping, we tried to get them by opening up the street. We told them that if they would drop it down, which they would probably want to do, but they declined. At any rate, that's really not directly related to this project. I just give that as an example of a utility problem. The bigger issue for us is the fact that, for the LDC, is the fact that the electrical utilities, right, are now going to be buried and going underneath from Shabbat's property, underneath the market center, and then connecting to the actually 3 buildings, because we're also including Mike Canis' building, all of which originally had one pole in the middle of that site that was connecting to all 3 of those buildings. So we just had to work through with the Bonaccio folks, because this also indirectly affects Phase 2, which of course is in the same development agreement. And even though those are different parties to this, the LDC is not involved in that, we are indirectly. So, short version of all this is that I think we've got, on the heels of the meeting yesterday, I think we're all on the same page. I'd sent some minor changes to Kara. If we can get those revised, and to you folks, we can, at whatever meeting we need to have for the IDA to approve the tax benefits, we could also have the same meeting to approve the PDA. So I think that'll be, we'll all be set there.
As my father would say, nothing in life is easy.
Yeah. No. It's been an interesting challenge.
So I'd like to add to that, Jeff talked about the use of the buildings, both how 36 Elm would be used, the first floor, as well as the market center. Is it called the market center? When the farmer's market is not there. And so there's a meeting that's at 3 o'clock today that the mayor's having, where he's bringing in some people who have advised us in the past and been part of the DRI process, that are going to come together, I think not just once, but maybe a couple of times.
That's the plan.
To advise the city and then probably advise us, if you will, on their recommendations of how those spaces should be used.
Right, and
so,
the goal is to set up the 3 subcommittees that we talked about, one for the kitchen, one for the market itself, and then one for the wayfinding piece. And then the mayor said yesterday that there's a discussion about maybe creating a 4th committee for an operations, like a full operations of that entire piece. Again, it was his thinking, and I don't want to go too far into explaining it any further. He'll explain it at 3 this afternoon.
but at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and we're all welcome to attend if we'd like. I think you already know about it, hopefully you do. And it's going to be where?
3 p.m., 11 South Street, 2nd floor of the EDC's conference room.
Okay.
Warren County EDC's conference room.
Okay.
So,
we're
and
having
there's
it there,
11
right?
or 12 other community members who are going to be coming.
And how come we're having it there and not at City Hall? Just
Space size.
space size? Okay, good.
I'm glad you knew the answer to that.
One quick follow-up, and I don't know how we'll address this as far as if we need a resolution, or so we can do it at the special meeting. One of the issues that the LDC is going to face is there's going to be a small cost because we need to provide the connection not to the buildings, but National Grid's, I guess you're going to call it the interconnect to allow access to the buildings, right? This is technically speaking, I guess, a city-caused issue, right? But the disconnect that we had to get to move all these poles, right, to get the underground lines on the market center means that there's currently no way for the building owners to connect to the 2 buildings. It's not a huge cost, but essentially we need to have the connection from Shabbat's property to what they call the transformer, which is being put in, right, so that they can connect to the transformer. So there's going to be, now we talked about
Where
this.
is the transformer?
It's going to be right behind the incubator. So essentially what they're doing is they're putting a transformer sort of in that corner behind the back alley. There's a
Behind
transformer
36 Elm?
behind 36 Elm.
Right.
Right, in the back, in the farthest corner.
Okay.
So the lines now, which are going underground, right, instead of overhead, we've disconnected from all 3 buildings, including Cada's building. But the city obviously has had to take care of the cost of Cada's building. These other 2, though, the service now is going to, it's a service request that has to come from the LDC because the city can't request it because we don't own the buildings.
Correct.
Yep.
Right? We talked about yesterday, we could have negotiated this in the purchase price, but that seems like a terrible place to go right now. The easier way is for the LDC just to make the service request, which they have to do as the owner. And it's not a huge cost, probably, it's like $60 a foot is what it costs to make the interconnect
So only
to the.
350,000.
No, probably about 5,000. My hope would be that once we receive the down payment from the developer, we can use that to sort of cover these costs.
Okay. What, the Shabbat building being the building further south on South Street?
Correct. The poles are still there. They've actually put a new pole up, but the utility poles are there.
Okay.
They then run underneath
To the pole,
market
and
center.
then he
to the-
connects
to the-
to the.
And then, well, they run through a box. They run
Right.
through this pad mounted
Right.
transformer, and then they will run to their 2 buildings. So what we need to do is we need to cover the cost to get it from Shabbat's to the
Over to the
transformer.
corner, right, that, and then he pays.
So then they will take
he
care of the
pays to
connection
connect.
for that.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
Important
So,
detail.
yeah. And it's, this, it's in some ways it's a city created problem, but it's.
Understood.
So unless, I don't know that we need a resolution to move forward with that unless there is a feeling that we do, in which case I would
Well-
put a verbal resolution on the table.
No.
Well, I was gonna say, we can do that once we have the PDA
Yeah.
approved, because then we'll actually
Right.
have
Yeah.
the clarification for the.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what the
To
time
cover
was.
it.
Yep.
No, it's, we'll have to put that in, but it's not immediate.
Okay.
We're not gonna ask for the payment
Yeah.
as you call.
Okay.
But
No,
it's,
but you can put the request in without a, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Anything else?
Any
No.
additional questions for Jeff or for Patrick? Okay, there being none, is there any other business to come before the board? All right, if none, there's no need for an executive session, so I'll call for an adjournment, and our next meeting will be June 13th, unless something special comes up.
I was gonna say.
Which it will. Which it will. I move to adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor?
All right.
We are adjourned. I'm going to open up the Glens Falls Urban Renewal Agency Board. I am secretary of that as well. Please
red line?
note that it says that I am chair.
No,
I
that's
am not.
Yep.
Mayor Bill Collins is chair and I serve as secretary, but I'm going to open up that meeting. We have, all of our members are present. We have a quorum, right?
We have a quorum,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah, we got,
because,
yeah, we got,
because
We are.
you and
Okay,
Jane-
look who showed up.
You and
Right,
Jane-
okay?
yes.
3 of the
we got
5.
three
I gotta
of
be
us.
quiet. Right.
The 3 of us over here on this side. Thank you all for being here. I'm gonna do the administrative reports first. And so, we have the minutes also from the committee meetings that were held on March 28th, the annual meeting, and then we also had a regular meeting that day. Are there any questions or changes that you'd like for those meeting minutes? There being none, is there a motion to accept the meeting minutes for all 3 as presented?
So, yeah, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? There being none, motion is carried and the minutes are approved. Please get those posted. Okay. The financial report for 4 months ending April 30th. Mark, any quick summary you want to give for that?
No activity in March, and then just two custodial bills in April for 144, and then again, couple minimal journal entries that Gene left had his book, and that's it.
Okay. So is there a motion to accept the financial report as presented?
So move?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No nays, no abstentions, so the motion is carried. Report is approved, and please get that posted as well. And then we have the Schedule A, which is the payment of bills, and there are the 3 bills that are reported there. Any questions or changes about the bills? There being none, is there a motion to approve Schedule A as presented?
I move to pay the bills.
Pay the bills.
Pay the bills.
All right, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? There being none, motion is approved, and we will pay those bills. I don't know who signs. If we're gonna sign today,
The signatures are Tim and the mayor.
Tim and Mayor.
I believe that's it, although, did we get you on that?
You did, but I think it's, I don't, yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Right.
All right.
I think the
So we're
request
trying-
was that we not only have 2 signers
Right.
for the
If
organization.
Tim can sign today, then that would be great before he leaves. All right. There's no other business unless the members have any that they want to raise.
Not here.
None here. And there's no need for an executive session. So is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. So we'll meet June 13th if needed, but I don't know. if
Why we
there-
wouldn't be.
3 meetings, 51 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
So do we want to at least tentatively look at a date? I mean,
In May?
yeah. I don't know if these dates and times work. I mean, days and times work. Or if it's something later.